Most people measure their financial life by one number. The number in the bank account, the number on the paycheck, the number on the price tag of the car in the driveway. And by that measure, a huge number of people who are actually doing well quietly convince themselves they're behind. Here's the truth nobody tells you. Being ahead financially isn't about how much money is sitting in your account today. It's about a handful of quiet habits and decisions that almost never show up on a bank statement, but almost always show up 10 years later, in the gap between the people who built real freedom and the people who didn't. I'm about to walk you through 10 signs. Some of them will surprise you. Some of them might describe you exactly right now, even if you've never once felt ahead in your life. And a few of them might reveal a blind spot you didn't know you had. Stick with me till the end.
Sign 1. You feel uncomfortable spending without knowing where the money goes. Here's something most people never notice about themselves. If handing over your card for a purchase, even a small one, makes you pause for half a second and mentally check whether it fits, that pause is not anxiety. That pause is financial awareness, and it's rarer than you think. Most people spend on autopilot. The card comes out, the tap happens, the thought process is finished before it started. There's no friction, no pause, no internal accounting happening in the background. It feels easier in the moment. It feels like freedom, but it's actually the opposite. It's a complete absence of information about your own financial life. If you're the person who feels a small twinge of discomfort spending money you haven't accounted for, congratulations. That discomfort is your brain doing exactly what it should be doing, tracking reality instead of ignoring it. People who are secretly behind financially are almost never the anxious ones. They're the comfortable ones, swiping without a second thought.
Sign 2. You know your numbers, even the uncomfortable ones. Ask most people what they owe across every debt they carry, right now, without checking anything. Most people can't answer quickly. Not because the number is hidden from them, it's sitting right there in an app or a statement, but because looking at it honestly feels unpleasant, so they avoid it. If you know your numbers, your total debt, your monthly expenses, your actual savings rate, not a rough guess, but an actual figure, you are already ahead of a significant portion of people who make considerably more money than you do. This is one of the most counterintuitive truths in personal finance. Income and financial awareness are almost completely unrelated. There are people earning enormous salaries who have no real idea what their monthly expenses add up to, because a large income created enough slack to never need to look closely. And there are people earning modest, ordinary paychecks who can tell you to the dollar exactly where every part of it goes. Knowing your numbers isn't about punishing yourself with spreadsheets every night. It's about refusing to let discomfort dictate what you're willing to look at. The moment you know your real numbers, especially the ones that sting a little, you've done something the majority of people actively avoid. You've traded a comfortable illusion for an uncomfortable truth. And that trade is where every real financial improvement actually begins.
Sign 3. You've stopped comparing your timeline to everyone else's. Here's a habit that quietly wrecks people's financial decisions more than almost anything else. Watching someone else's highlight reel and mentally rewriting your own plan around it. Someone buys a house. Someone posts a new car. Someone's business suddenly seems to be taking off. And without meaning to, a quiet voice starts asking, am I behind? Should I be doing that too? Should I have that by now? Here's what almost nobody sees in that highlight reel. The debt behind the house, the loan behind the car, the 18 months of invisible struggle behind the sudden success. Comparing your real, fully visible financial situation to someone else's carefully edited public image is not just unfair, it's mathematically nonsensical. You're comparing complete information about yourself to a heavily filtered fraction of information about someone else. If you've reached a point where someone else's purchase, promotion, or public win doesn't send you into a private financial panic, if you can see it, genuinely feel happy for them, and go right back to your own plan without missing a step, that's not indifference. That's financial maturity. And it's one of the clearest signs that you're playing a longer, smarter game than most people around you. The people who stay financially.
Sign 4. You've already had the boring conversation with yourself. There's a conversation almost everyone avoids because it feels tedious, unglamorous, and slightly depressing to have. It sounds something like this. What happens if I lose my income for 3 months? What happens if my car breaks down and my health insurance deductible hits in the same month? What's my actual plan, not my hope, if things go wrong? Most people never sit down and have this conversation honestly. It's uncomfortable. It doesn't produce an exciting result, and it's tempting to assume things will simply work out. But the people who are quietly ahead financially have almost always had this exact conversation with themselves at some point, even if the answer they arrived at wasn't perfect. Having an emergency fund, even a modest one, even one that only covers a few weeks rather than a few months, puts you ahead of an enormous share of people, regardless of income level. It's not about the size of the cushion. It's about whether you've actually built one on purpose, rather than hoping you'll never need it. This sign isn't flashy. Nobody posts a photo of their emergency fund, but ask anyone who's actually gone through a job loss or an unexpected expense, and they'll tell you the difference between having that boring conversation in advance and not having it is the difference between a stressful month and a genuine financial crisis. There's a specific reason this conversation gets avoided so consistently.
Sign 5. You treat your skills as an investment, not just your resume. Most people think about learning purely in terms of what it does for their current job. A certification for a promotion, a course required by an employer, a credential to check a box. Nothing wrong with that. But it's a narrow way to think about skill building, and it quietly caps how far that effort can carry you. If you've ever spent money or time learning something specifically because it makes you more valuable in general, not because your current job demanded it, but because you understood that skills compound in ways salaries never do, that decision puts you ahead of most people, even if nobody around you has noticed yet. Here's why this matters so much. A raise from your employer is a single, isolated event, decided by someone else on their schedule. A skill you've built is portable. It travels with you between jobs, between industries, even into things you haven't started yet. It's one of the only assets you can build that nobody can lay off, downsize, or take away from you. People who are secretly ahead financially rarely talk about this out loud, because it doesn't look like anything dramatic while it's happening. It looks like an ordinary evening spent learning something instead of relaxing. But those ordinary evenings, stacked over years, are exactly what separates people whose value keeps climbing from people whose value is frozen at whatever their current job title happens to require.
Sign 6. You don't need to be the smartest person about money in the room. There's a strange kind of ego that shows up around money, and it trips up a surprising number of people who are otherwise doing well. It's the need to appear financially sophisticated, to have an opinion on every investment trend, to never admit you don't understand something, to nod along in conversations about money rather than ask a basic question. The people who are quietly ahead financially tend to do the opposite. They ask the basic question, even if it makes them look less polished in the moment. They admit when they don't understand a financial product before putting money into it. They're far more interested in making a good decision than sounding impressive while making it. This matters more than it might seem, because a huge amount of financial damage, bad investments, unnecessary fees, decisions driven by hype instead of understanding, comes directly from people who were too proud to ask a clarifying question before committing their money. Ego is expensive. It doesn't show up as a single obvious cost, but it quietly taxes almost every financial decision made to protect an image instead of an outcome.
If you've reached the point where you'd rather look
Sign 7. You've started thinking in decades, not paychecks. This is the one almost nobody recognizes in themselves, so pay close attention here. Most people's financial decisions are made on a paycheck-to-paycheck horizon, even when their income would technically allow for longer-term thinking. The question driving most spending isn't, how does this affect my life in 10 years? It's, can I afford this right now, this month, with what's currently in my account? That short horizon isn't a character flaw. It's how the entire system is built to make you think, as we've covered in other conversations about the salary trap. But somewhere along the way, a small number of people quietly shift their internal clock. They start asking a completely different question before a financial decision. Not, can I afford this today, but how does this decision look from 10 years in the future, looking back? That shift changes everything downstream of it. It changes how you view a coffee habit, a subscription, a small daily convenience. Not because any single one of those things matters much on its own, but because a decade-long lens makes their cumulative weight visible in a way a monthly lens never does. It changes how you view debt, not as a monthly payment you can afford, but as a decade-long drag on money that could otherwise be building something. It changes how you view a boring, unglamorous habit like consistent saving, not as a small monthly inconvenience, but as the input to a number 10 years out that will look almost unrecognizable compared to where it started.
Sign 8. You've made at least one decision that looked financially irrational in the short term. This one sounds contradictory at first, so let's slow down on it. Every meaningful long-term financial gain requires at some point a decision that looks foolish by short-term math. Turning down a slightly higher paying job because the lower paying one builds a more valuable skill. Spending money on a course when your budget is already tight. Choosing to invest steadily, even during a period when the markets look shaky and everyone around you is pulling their money out in a panic. None of these decisions look smart in the moment, judged purely by the immediate numbers. That's exactly why most people never make them. The short-term math is loud and obvious. The long-term math is quiet and invisible until years later. If you can look back at your own financial history and identify at least one decision you made that felt uncomfortable, looked irrational to people around you, and only made sense years later once the results showed up, that's not luck. That's a sign you've developed the ability to trust a longer, less visible kind of logic over the loud, immediate logic that governs most people's financial choices. This is also, quietly, one of the hardest signs on this entire list to develop, because it requires tolerating the specific discomfort of being the only person in the room who thinks a decision makes sense. It's worth being honest about what this sign is not. It's not recklessness dressed up as vision. Plenty of genuinely bad financial decisions also look irrational in the short term, and the fact that a decision feels uncomfortable doesn't automatically make it wise. The distinguishing feature of the good version of this sign is that the discomfort comes with a clear, specific reason attached to it, a defined skill being built, a defined trajectory being pursued.
Sign 9. Your money has a job, even when you are not working. Here's a quiet but powerful distinction. For a lot of people, money is purely a static thing. It arrives, it sits in an account, and it leaves again to cover expenses. For a smaller number of people, every dollar that isn't immediately needed has a specific job assigned to it, growing, generating, or building towards something specific. This doesn't require complicated investing knowledge or large sums of money to start. It requires a mental shift. Instead of asking how much is left over, ask what is this leftover money actually doing right now? Sitting idle in a low-interest account is one answer. Growing in an investment account, funding a skill, seeding a small side project, those are different answers, and they lead to dramatically different outcomes over time, even starting from identical amounts. If you've reached the point where you instinctively think about what your money is doing rather than simply where it's sitting, you've crossed a threshold most people never cross.
It's the difference between money as a static number and money as a tool that's actively working on your behalf, whether you're clocked into a job that day or not.
Sign 10. You can sit with financial discomfort without making an impulsive decision. The last sign is less about a specific habit and more about a general capacity, and it might be the most important one on this entire list. Financial life is full of uncomfortable moments. A market downturn, an unexpected bill, a friend's exciting new opportunity that makes your own steady, boring plan feel dull by comparison. In every one of these moments, there's a strong pull toward doing something, anything, just to relieve the discomfort of sitting still. Most financial damage doesn't come from a single catastrophic decision. It comes from a series of smaller, impulsive reactions to discomfort. Panic selling during a downturn, chasing an exciting opportunity without proper research, abandoning a sound plan because sticking with it felt boring compared to the alternative. If you've developed the ability to feel that discomfort fully without immediately needing to act on it, to sit with an uncomfortable financial moment, gather information, and respond deliberately rather than react instantly, you possess one of the rarest and most valuable financial skills there is. It doesn't show up on any statement. It never gets celebrated the way a big win does. But over a long enough timeline, it quietly prevents more financial damage than almost any single smart decision could ever create. Look back over everything we just covered. Not one of these 10 signs is about how much money is currently in your account. Not one of them requires a six-figure salary, a business, or some dramatic financial event to be true. Every single one of them is about how you think, not how much you currently have. That's the part almost nobody tells you. Being financially ahead isn't a number. It's a set of quiet habits, discomfort you're willing to sit with, conversations you're willing to have with yourself, timelines you're willing to extend, and impulses you're willing to resist that most people avoid because every one of them is, in its own small way, uncomfortable. If you recognized even 3 or 4 of these signs in yourself, you are further ahead than you've probably given yourself credit for. Not because your bank account proves it today, but because your habits are quietly building toward a version of your future that most people are unconsciously building away from. And if none of these signs currently describe you, that's not a verdict. It's a starting point. Every one of these 10 habits can be built deliberately, starting today, regardless of your current income or your current balance. That's the part that should give you hope rather than dread. This was never about the number in your account. It was always about the decisions building quietly underneath it.
Pick one sign from this list, just one, and make it true about yourself over the next 30 days. Not all 10, one. That single shift, repeated consistently, is exactly how the people who are quietly ahead got there in the first place. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And drop a comment telling me which sign hit closest to home. I read every one. One last thought before you go. It's worth remembering that every single person who is genuinely ahead financially right now started at 0 on every one of these 10 signs. Nobody is born checking their numbers honestly, resisting comparison, or thinking in decades instead of paychecks. Every one of these habits was built, slowly, by someone who was once exactly where you are right now, possibly uncertain, possibly comparing themselves to people further along, possibly wondering if any of this actually applies to them. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't closed by one dramatic decision. It's closed the same way all 10 of these signs were built in the first place, quietly, one uncomfortable choice at a time, repeated far longer than feels necessary, until one day, the habits that once felt difficult simply become who you are. That's the real secret hiding behind this entire list. Being ahead was never about starting with more. It was always about which discomforts you were willing to sit with while everyone else looked.